guys, welcome to my channel. So I heard you are trying to buy a house, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about my experience buying a house for the second time and what I wish I knew first time going through this process. Buying a house is definitely an exciting thing, but I know also a little bit chaotic and overwhelming process as there are lots of monies involved and lots of people. I'm gonna go through 5 stages of your processes and what you need to do, what is most important so you can enjoy this process a little bit more. So the first stage of the process is pre-step. Buying a house is a big finance decisions. And there's going to be a lot of finance talks here. Number 1, is your down payment ready? Number 2, is your credit score good enough in order for you to get the best rate possible? And then number 3 is, can you afford the monthly payment that you're going to be pursuing? They're all different, but you need to make sure that all 3 components are ready in order for you to make good financial decisions. This stage may take 2 weeks for some people or 6 months for others. It really depends on how committed you are, how ready you are. So number 1 is down payment technically can be anywhere from 3% to 90% plus. It depends on how much you're putting relative to your entire purchase price. So let's say the house is $500,000 and I put 20% down, that is $100,000, then you're loaning $400,000 from the bank. You're technically allowed to put less than 20%, but if you do, your lender's gonna charge PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. This can be anywhere 0.5% to 1.5% of your loan amount. And this does not go to your equity, it's just extra money. Like, it's an insurance that lender require you to have in case you go bankrupt because you're putting less amount of money upfront. Going back to our example of house is $500K and I put $100K down, so I'm borrowing $400K from the lender. Your lender is going to charge you interest. That's how they make money, how the banks make money. And I'm gonna pay back my mortgage monthly. That includes my principal, which is my money. That goes back to my equity and interest on top of it. And the credit score comes in here, and that's really why credit score is so important, because that is the single most important factor that you can control to lower your interest rate. Even 0.5% of your interest rate makes a huge difference in terms of the interest you're paying over time. That is one of the most important things that you should look out for if you're serious about buying a house. So the third thing you need to think about is your monthly payment. And monthly payment is not only just a mortgage that you're paying back to your lender, but also your taxes, insurance, HOA, and just a little bit of buffer emergency fund for your maintenance cost. Your lender is not really interested in your financial decisions. They're making money by loaning you money. They're not gonna think about your affordability. So it's your job to make sure that you know what you're signing up for. All right, so once you figure out your total budget and your monthly payment and your credit score is good, then you're financially ready to pursue this processes. Okay, number 2 of the process is finding a realtor that you can really work together and you can trust. Finding a good realtor is literally a game changer, and I underestimated the importance of the realtor, to be honest. They're playing really important roles in this process, especially for the first home buyer. They're the one who's going to be standing next to you and answer all of your questions or give you some ideas on things to look out for. They're your source of information. And obviously, more information and insights they can provide to you, you're gonna be smarter and you're gonna be getting exactly what you want. So a good realtor, in my opinion, are the people who help you understand what you need and want before you figure that out. And they're gonna be asking you questions, they're gonna be bring that insight for you because they've done this multiple times. For example, I didn't think about the floor plan too much, but after seeing a couple houses, we quickly realized the floor plan of having all the bedrooms stack up to each other didn't really work for us. We wanted some separations. The floor plan where you have 3 bedrooms in a row were immediately out in our viewing process. You figure out your criteria as you go, and this is why a realtor is going to be an important partner for you, because they are going to be learning your preferences and need as they go through this process with you. If you're not sure how to find a realtor, there are a couple ways. You can ask around, oh, how was your realtor? To people who've bought a house recently. Another good way is when you're casually looking and going to open houses, you can get exposure to realtor. Usually open house has the seller's agent, and they usually help with buyer side as well. So if you find somebody you can talk to easily and they have all these like good characters you're looking out for from the realtor, you can work with them. You can kind of ask them like, hey, here are some of the things that I'm looking for. Or they'll probably try to work with you because that's how they bring business for themselves. Okay, so the third stage of the process is the fun part, right? So now you have your kind of budget figured out, your criteria, and you have the realtor that you're working with. Now it's time to go find your dream house. You don't have to look at 50 houses or 100 houses to know that this is your house. My husband is, I need to see more houses so that I feel more confident. It really depends on people's personalities, but for me, knowing your criteria and having a mindset of buying is super important, because you don't want to waste your time just looking at a house that is obviously not in your budget or obviously missing something that is important for you. Not to weed out too much. You need to find a good balance between still be open-minded about things that not a deal breaker, but knowing what is super important and what is a must would be saving you a lot of time. It's a long process. It is tedious. You may go through, okay, am I going to find a house? I'm tired. You might feel that. I definitely did, because I was being super impatient, seeing too many houses. But you will know if something is really for you and you're ready to put an offer, then that's where, again, your realtor comes in. Then we make an offer. Seller can either accept, deny, or put a counter. I think counter is probably most common. You go back and forth a little bit. I think this process is super fun to watch in selling Sunset, because you go back and forth and they put like contingency and they make a deal. So negotiation is something that your realtor usually advise on, like what are some course of actions you can take here. Again, like that's super important, because this is where you decide the most important thing, which is your purchase price, but also like little kind of contingencies and a structure of the deal. So once seller accept the deal or your purchase price, then you go on the real process of buying a house and closing the deal. During this process of putting an offer and going through the fourth stage, make sure you have bandwidth in your schedule, meaning you have time to be available to pick up a phone or talk to your realtor pretty quickly, because it's a really fast process. For us, finding the house that we really liked to putting an offer and accept it was less than 3 days. So don't underestimate the time that it takes. If you're like super busy with work or personal stuff, like probably not a good time to buy a house. It goes on to the mortgage stuff, but yeah, that window is super short. So you want to make sure that you have bandwidth physically, but also mentally to deal with this process. Okay, fourth stage of our process is the most hectic and confusing part. It's not the most fun part of the process, but it's definitely worth it. So I'm gonna walk you through what is happening after your offer is accepted. You have a window of time to get inspection done. When we put an offer for purchase, we put an option period. You suggest that you want to have an option to proceed or not with a small fee. We had 7 days option period where you can get your inspection done, getting the agreement from the seller that they're either going to be fixing or paying us so we can get compensated for the maintenance issues. And that fee goes towards your purchase price, obviously, if you decide to go forward. Otherwise, all you lost is that option fee. I really like that because it gives you a peace of mind. If you find something really big and we can't arrive in a negotiation of seller paying for fixing stuff, then we can just back out of this deal. Inspection part of the process can be a little frustrating or nervous because they're meant to find something for you just for the awareness, right? You're paying somebody to find issue, which is super ironic, but you want to make sure that all of these informations are given to you before you move forward. It's a risk, right? Like your roof is falling, you want to know. Or if your HVAC is about to break next year, you want to know. And every home is going to have some problems. And it's totally up to you to accept it or not. But our house was a little bit older, so we did find quite a bit of things we needed to fix, but nothing was really earth-shattering or deal breakers. So we did accept the concession from the seller and we decided to move forward. And another thing that is huge in this process is your mortgage. I did talk a little bit about your down payment and monthly payment and lending money through mortgage on the first step, but this is where you're finalizing and getting that final number. Mortgage is something you can shop around, meaning you don't talk to one person and go with them. You talk to multiple people and find a lender who gives you the best deal. It is a big decision in your financial and it will impact you for a pretty good amount of time. Mortgage is usually 15 years or 30 years conventional. So going back to the shopping mortgage idea, you can shop around different lender. You can get this offer from one and then you can go to other, ask them, hey, can you match this or be better? And then you can do that multiple times through this window of time to get the best deal. Sometimes the lender may give you the same rates, but they might give you the lender's credit just to compensate for other closing costs. It's totally worth shopping around and getting the best deal. Other few things are like appraisals. That's your lender sending third party to make sure that you're buying a house in the reasonable amount, because lender want to make sure that you're not overpaying the purchase house because they own 80% of this house at the time of buying. And one last thing you need to think about is your home insurance. Similar to lender or your mortgage, you can shop around and getting the best deal for home insurance. These are required by your lender. That's the big ticket items on the steps. Okay, lastly, the closing. I haven't talked to you too much about this title company. I want to explain to you a little bit, because I was super confused at first time. What are they doing? Who are they? So title company is somebody in the middle who makes this deal, right? Again, buying a house is a big purchase, big asset transferring from the seller to buyer. And big money is being exchanged from the buyer to seller. And then there's, again, the banks involved as well to give the portion of the purchase price to seller. It's a big financial transactions, and they're basically legal kind of entity who's making sure this deal is appropriately executed and protect both seller and buyer as a middle person. And on the closing day, you go to title company's office and you sign a bunch of papers and you bring your cashier's check, or you can do wire with the final amount that you need to pay to seller. So that includes your down payment plus minus amount that you're getting from the seller and all the prepaid stuff that you need to pay in advance. So your lender is going to tell you how much you need to bring. It's going to be around your down payment. Okay. There you have it. I hope you find this video super helpful, and best of luck for you going through this process. If you like the video or if you have more questions, feel free to put a comments below. I hope you enjoy your process and go find your dream house. Bye. Oh, actually, I forgot. So once your offer is accepted, you put earnest money. This is showing how serious and committed you are to go through this process and closing the deal. It's anywhere between 1% to 2% of your home price. If something falls through because of your fault, then this money is going to seller. Otherwise, it will go towards your purchase price.